Welcome to another episode of Stack Your Points. As always, I'm Matt Clausen from the Matt Clausen YouTube channel, joined by RJ from Do You Take Cards? RJ, how are you?
I am very excited for this episode. I've been looking forward to it since we came up with the idea for it.
Absolutely. It's a fun idea. We're going to jump into that in just a few moments. We're also joined by Tariq Gaines. How are you?
I am great. Glad to be back. Sorry that I missed last week, but Chicago was just beautiful.
Always got to flex your travels. And finally, last but not least, Lani from Call Me Lani. How are you, sir?
I am glad that Tariq is back and that also he appreciates that Chicago is one of the best American cities in this country.
Except for baseball. The White Sox are terrible.
Doesn't matter. I'm south of the river, so we didn't have another baseball team.
It's a weird year for the Sox, but it's a weird year all around. So,
And who watches baseball?
Me!
Texans and New Yorkers.
I mean,
I'm not a Yankees fan. I need to make that blatantly clear that I'm not a Yankees fan.
I live a
Really
life of
good-looking
sports
hats.
pain. All right, so we should start off with a quick news roundup. We've only got two minor pieces that I've noticed today. One, the JetBlue Plus card, a card that is sort of near and dear to my heart that I'm looking to apply for at some point in the near future, has a current elevated welcome offer of 80,000 JetBlue miles for $1,000 and spend in 90 days. I find that very nice. If JetBlue is a program that you fly, I like them, but they are not everywhere. They're primarily East Coast, and I can see that being a limitation. But a really nice welcome offer, and the card does give you some cool benefits. The other thing that came up pretty much about an hour and a half before we started recording, Capital One is rumored to be launching a number of new cards. This coming from Doctor of Credit. We'll see what happens. It's Capital One, so they could be really good cards. They could be really bad cards. You could be in a bucket. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. Did anyone have any reactions to news as we have? I see Lani's a big no on that one.
Doesn't really impact me one way or the other. So if it does impact you or any of you listeners out there, good for you.
The only comment I have is I want Capital One to have a more variety laden lineup that's not the same card at 4 different credit scores. That's all I want, because I think competition is good, and I think if they come up with some interesting cards, that is good for the ecosystem they have and might spill over into other people. But I'm not a huge Capital One fan, even though I have the Venture X. That's sort of its isolated product.
I was just going to say, I was going to give my one Hyatt point to this. With JetBlue, it was cool, but they just pulled out of San Antonio. So I don't even know if I'll ever get to fly them. So that sucks. And Capital One still has me in a bucket, and I still have to wait like 5 or so more months so I can try to get my next credit limit increase of $100. So they can kick rocks for all I care right now. Plus, whatever cards they're going to get, just multiply them by 3 because they're going to do the good credit and they're going to do the excellent credit because Capital One.
Hopefully not, but yep, that is how they operate. But today's show, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do a sort of back to basics about credit cards and the approach to credit cards. So we're going to jump into some topics, and we're going to start actually today with RJ. RJ, what is your topic?
So what makes a credit card good to you? Is it the credits? Is it the multipliers? Is it the bank it's attached to? Is it, transfer partners? This idea sort of came to me because a friend of mine is getting into credit cards. They're, in their 40s, they've got a mortgage. They've sort of got all their ducks in a row with like 401ks and IRAs and all of that. And they want to do some more traveling. But when we have conversations, sometimes the conversations and the points that people who are in the credit card game bring up are not points that they understand the context of. So they asked me, like, what is a good card? What should I look for in a good card? So I thought I would pose that question to all of you. Tariq, would you like to take it first?
Yeah. If you ask me what makes a card good or what's a good card, I'll just say the Chase Sapphire Preferred. And now that I got Matt's reaction out of the way, now I can really give my answer. Um, I think when it comes to what makes a card good, it's for me, it's a myriad of like all of those points regarding really the biggest one for me, I would say is multipliers, because if you don't know how you're going to use the card or what you're going to use the card on, like you might just end up getting like a something like the Sapphire Preferred or the City Strata Premier, but only use like for a catch-all, you're only gonna get like 1x. So like if you're gonna get a grocery card or you're gonna spend on groceries, know if you're gonna get like cash back, know if you're gonna do points, and then it kind of just for me goes there. And then of course with the more advanced topics of getting into points travel, getting into transfer partners, trying to see like which ecosystems mesh. But really, if you don't get like to me, the basics of just knowing how you're gonna even use the card, that's like your start.
Yeah, that's actually I like this question a lot because when I look at my credit history and my credit journey from my first card to the most recent card that I have, and I mean, you can even include the ones that I'm thinking about getting into the future. I'll say the very first card I ever got under my own name, wasn't authorized user or anything like that, was not the best card for me. Uh, and ironically enough, it's still active and still open today, and it's a Amex, and Amex still won't cancel it. So I'm just leaving it on my credit report because it's helping me out. Um, but to answer your question, I would have to say it's the offset value. Now, when I say value, I'm not defining that as a monetization or financial value, but just a value to whatever goal that you're trying to achieve. And that can come from annual fee if you're more into the financial side. It can come to the benefits if you're into the experience side. So, like a good card might have a high annual fee, but has a lot of benefits that you can take advantage of. A great example is like we've all talked about this before, especially with me, my United Mileage Plus Explorer card. It doesn't have a high annual fee, but the benefits I get out there outweigh the annual fee tenfold over and over again. So for me, I would define a good card as it works with my spend, and then what is it that I'm getting out of it? And in my case, personally, benefits is up probably comes in a close number two, but the number one would be how do I earn those points or miles from it? And then also how do I redeem those points and miles from it? If I can get value out of the earning and redeeming equation, then I'm winning. And that's what I would consider a good card.
Matt?
So in all things in this hobby, it will kind of depend on what your personal goals will be. Um, if you're just starting out and you're confused by things like welcome offer, sub, what does this mean that it's a zero APR for 12 months? Like there's a lot of confusion at the very beginning. And so just trying to get your head wrapped around that is after you get your head wrapped around that, which that will take some time because you need to know like for the first 12 months, you're not going to be charged interest on your purchases. But on month 13, statement balance 13, whatever's staying there will get charged interest if you haven't paid it off. Right. Understanding when your welcome offers will come into effect. So, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, a card I like to rag on, but is a good travel card. Making sure that after you spend that $4,000 in the first 3 months, that you're getting your 60,000 ultimate reward points from Chase. And then it's a question of how do you use those 60,000 ultimate reward points. In the Chase travel portal, that can be $725 if you do redeem for travel in the portal. you can do a lot more if you learn transfer partners. And then it's, what transfer partners do they have? How do I do transfer partners? Why do I have to sign up for a Aer Lingus account if I want to move my points over to Aer Lingus, or Iberia, or any of Chase's travel partners, or any of Wells Fargo's, or so on and so forth. So good will be subjective over time. But I think when you're first getting started, the best things are going to be cards that can build into either ecosystems that you're interested in, if travel is your goal, or will always provide you solid cash back, because cash is always good to have. Unless you want to start into a sort of specialized niche travel of like the Expedia cards, for example, that just came out. Those have really good earnings. Those have really good benefits. And those would be great for someone who only wants to do their bookings through Expedia. But they have to know that they only do their travel through Expedia before anyone would recommend that sort of card. So it all ends up being subjective, but having that base level and gaining that base level is really important to starting to figure out what is good for you.
I just want to state that we have witnessed a moment in credit card history where Matt Clausen openly admitted the Chase Sapphire Preferred was a good card. I could not let that just slip by.
It's good for some people. It's absolute trash to me.
I would also agree that it is good for some people, but outside of welcome bonus, against everything that has happened in the last month, built card.
Yep. No, it's still a good card. It's still better than the Sapphire Preferred, and it's still got no annual fee. It's having a really rough 2 weeks though.
I would say the built card is not for novice credit card users though. Like I think you have to know a certain amount or have to be confident that you can learn quickly a certain amount of information for the built card to be a really good option for you, because there's a lot of ways that card can bite you that, say, the Sapphire Preferred probably won't. Probably.
I see where you're going, but I do 40% disagree. And the reason why is because I don't think you have to have the learning curve for the build as you would with like a Chase card. Like with the Chase, they're pretty ones and zeros, they aren't dynamic. They're pretty just flat. Like you get what you get. And yes, the built card is very dynamic. It not only changes a lot week to week right now, but the first day of the month and the second day of the month are a big difference, when you make those different purchases. But if you strip all of that stuff away and you were just like smacked with the built card, right out of the gate, day one, you could just go use it and be fine. And at the same time, you can't overstep the fact that they waive your transaction fees on rent. They make sure that you can pay your rent with that card in any way, shape, or form, and you're not going to pay an extra cent over what you actually have to pay your landlord or your complex or anything like that. That alone, in my opinion, makes it just gives it the edge over the Sapphire Preferred, just full stop right there. And that's only because like what it 30, almost a third of the country rents their home right now. So that just checks off a whole bunch of boxes where a Sapphire Preferred does not.
Yeah, I will say when it comes to spending, I would say the built card does edge the Sapphire Preferred in that. I think where I see where it takes a little more like it's a little more advanced for the built card is just for like just the redemptions of the rewards. As saying with like the Sapphire Preferred, really any alternate rewards winning cards, if you just want to default to just redeem for cash back, you're going to get at 1 cent per point. So it's pretty simple. I don't even know what built's cashback redemption is. I know it's like less than 1 cent per point. But it's almost like if you're going to redeem for Belt, your best bet, if you're trying to go for the baseline 1 cent per point, is just going to be through like travel. So I see it in that light. But yeah, all in all, the Bill card is a better card than the Sapphire Preferred.
Yeah, no, you're right. The if you're gonna try to use it as a cashback card, now let's be granted, there's cashback side and there's the travel side, and the travel side is always like 1 cent per point. Built is not a cashback card; it's a travel card that's under 1 cent per point. So I'll give you your point on that one. You're 100% correct. But at the same time, let's talk about how many people actually do that. Now, cashback people aside, but travel people, how many people aren't transferring out to transfer partners? And let's not forget, travel portals are hot right now, and it's toe to toe with the at the 1.25 with the Sapphire Preferred.
Lani, can you do me a favor, because we're talking to new people? Can you explain what 1 cent per point means?
Yeah, so 1 cent per point or 1% back. So for every dollar that you spend, can think of getting 1% of that transaction back. And that's baseline. Now, I'm going to take out the extra layer of math where it's 3 cents per point or 3% cash back or 5 points on like when you book for travel or hotels. Take all that out. Just the bare bones 1%. So for every dollar you spend, you get 1 penny back that you could use as cash back. Now, that cent per point gets inflated, as I was mentioned just now and a second ago with the travel portal, to 1.25. So instead of saying I want to take my points and cash them out at that 1 cent per point, um, I can now say I'm going to use those points as my currency to pay for travel in whatever way, hotel, airline, whatever that is, within their travel portal. And instead of getting 1 cent, it's going to be multiplied by 0.25. So I'm going to get 1.25 cents per point. So I'm going to get a 25% boost on top of it.
Thank you. I just thought the new people may want an explanation for that.
And that was a really great question. Thanks for reining me back in.
Before we dive too much further into the eccentricities of two specific cards, one thing that will also work for what is a good card for you, regardless of if you're getting into travel or you're getting into the card cashback side of things, is always taking that first step of asking yourself, what do I spend? How do I spend my budget? Is most of my budget on dining? Well, like dining focus card would be better for you than a dining focus card in whichever playing field you're looking to be in is going to be better for you. So by that, I mean, there are dining focus cards that give you cash back. There are dining focus cards that are really good for travel. If you spend most of your money on groceries, the same sort of thing would apply. If you spend most of your money on rent, there are fees associated with swiping your credit card for rent. Typically, what Lani highlights with the bill card is Build takes care of that fee for you, but Build also charges that fee when you use a non-Build card to pay your rent through Build. Another way they're making some money, maybe. So if rent is a thing that you're worried about getting points back for travel, the Build card works out great there. There are cards that specialize in your particular spending habit. So just, if that's what you want to maximize, looking for those cards first would be potentially beneficial to you.
Good talk, guys. Who's next?
I think it actually perfectly parlays into mine, if you don't mind me jumping into the topic, because you were talking about the what.
Yeah, go for it.
It actually it kind of helps, because going back to the first episode, I talked about determining your why, and little did I realize how important that was going to be for this episode. So once you figure out your why and why you're getting into the credit card game and why you're trying to jump into points travel or cash back, it kind of helps with the what that you brought up, Matt. Especially the biggest thing I'd say was like the spend. Where do you spend the most money on? So where do you get your cards? So you know like where you're gonna get if you're gonna go cash back, what are your cash back cards for like dining or groceries, which I would say maybe the safer one, versus dining, groceries for points, Amex Gold. Yes, we know for all the changes. So that would be that's the next biggest thing, in my opinion, after the why is figuring out the what, planning your arsenal and trying to figure out your plan of attack. So with that being said, I kind of just want y'all's take on like what the what was, or even like what was the what for y'all when y'all first started. Like we all talked about the why, but like RJ, what was like when you got your first set of cards, when you thought you had your first what versus your current what?
So I think that because I'm out of a regional airport, I figured out very quickly if I wanted to fly, it had to be Delta, just purely based on where I go, where I connect through, all of that. I figured out very quickly Delta was going to get me the farthest. And then I realized I am not the most patient person on earth. And I don't want to look for a Hyatt or an IHG or whatever. And I realized that almost every place I have ever wanted to go to watch a sporting event has a Marriott or a Hilton. And once I realized that, and once I realized that there were cards that I could apply for and get that would give me certain statuses that I would not need to have to worry about earning, that did a lot of the heavy lifting of why my lineup looks like it is. Now, does my lineup need some pruning next year? Yes, it will change. But I think figuring out how you like to fly and where you want to stay and what patience level you have is going to help you with the what you need to do a lot more than, oh, I really like, I like the Attune because I want to do a bunch of like Etsy shopping, right? Like there are a lot of ways for you to get some points off of that. But if you can't use anything from Wells Fargo, like that's going to be a hard sell for you unless you're okay with just doing the cash, right? So figuring out, I think those sort of things tells you the what. Now, whether you want to listen to the what is a whole different conversation because there are some people who hate Amex but want to fly Delta. And for them, pay cash, my friend. Go forth in this world and just pay cash. And that's fine, right? Like if you do cash back, you can use some of that cash back if it's not a statement credit to just get your ticket that way and you're happy. But yeah, I think for me, when I talk to people, I really try to emphasize like what ecosystem do you want to be in? Do you have a strong preference? Like I know several of you like Hyatt. I would like Hyatt a lot more if Hyatt was where I wanted to go because I look for Hyatt sometimes and it's not there. And I don't have the patience to be 45 minutes away when I'm Ubering everywhere because I got money, but I don't have 45-minute Uber rides one way to the hotel money. Like I'm not that level of balling, even though I have a bunch of Amex. So yeah, I think the what actually is easier because in most cases it actually shows itself to you once you figure out the why.
I realize that my what has definitely changed because I just speaking for me, when I started my cash with the credit card journey, I was just straight cash. So like I was like didn't even know about 524 at first. And then when I learned about it, I didn't even care. It wasn't until I realized that I wanted to do travel. And at first it was Marriott and Southwest. And then it turned into United and Hyatt. But even then, all those transfer partners were with Chase. And once I realized that, I was at like 624 and I had to wait. So had I known that what to begin with, I wouldn't have waited so long to get my first UR earning card. And yeah, I definitely, even when I'm talking to friends now that kind of get interested or kind of want to know, because I just share my wealth of knowledge that I've gotten from y'all and everyone else in the community. I definitely ask them first, like, hey, if you're doing this for travel, who do you fly with? Where do you stay? Because I can't begin to tell you my recommendations until you know that.
Hey Tariq, what's 524?
So the 524 rule, the one that makes Matt just cringe every time he hears it, is a specific rule with JP Morgan Chase Bank, which is arguably the biggest bank when it comes to the credit card travel game. Chase's rule states that you can only open five if you open 5 or more credit cards within a rolling 24-month period, you will automatically be declined for any Chase cards, personal or business. The business later, we're more personal. And that includes 5 credit cards, regardless of issuer. So if you have a Chase card, American Express, 2 Bank of Americas, and a Capital One card, if you try to go for a 6 card being a Chase card, Chase is going to say no. So if you're wanting to get into the Chase Ultimate Rewards ordering program, or even some of their co-branded cards, Hyatt, United, Marriott, even the Disney one, we won't judge today. If you've opened up, if that would have been card number 6 in 24 months, Chase is going to say no. So, Lani, what do you think what was your what when you were starting off? And I guess what is your what now if it has changed?
I've always been in the game for travel. My travel card journey was not where my credit card journey started. Travel cards came later, probably 2, 3 cards in. But to help explain it, I got to jump back real quick to something that Matt just said in his previous answer to the last question is for most people, for almost anybody, I 100% recommend knowing where you spend your money. That's ridiculously important in choosing the what and what card to get. And then also, Tariq, as you had just mentioned, I've said it before. If anyone has seen my videos, think I've said it in at least like 7 of them at this point. Pick your partners. You got to know what hotel you're going to have access to, what airline you're going to have access to. And if you're like someone like RJ that lives near a regional airport, knowing that you got to connect. You got to make that connection. Where's that connection? What's that airline connection going to be? And also through what airport that's going to be. Now, granted, I was very lucky to grow up, in Chicagoland area, where as long as I got to O'Hare, I could switch in between almost any airline, at least the major 3. But a lot of people don't have that. So understand your partners, what the access and the options that you have. Now, going back to spending your money, if you spend a lot of money on dining. So at one point in my life, I also lived in New York, Manhattan, and Brooklyn. And I remember probably some of the smallest places, smaller than my college dorm rooms, that were studio apartments that I used to live in, where you didn't get to cook often. You didn't get to cook every day. I spent a lot of money on dining. Using New York and Chicago again, before we started recording this, Tariq and I were just talking about Chicago, my home sweet home. Transportation. I was on a train multiple times a day. If not, I was in a taxi. And even before Lyft and Uber kicked off, like you were in a taxi and then it turned into Lyft and Ubers and those types of things. So understanding where that money goes, it made a whole bit of difference. Now I say all that backwards in context to answer your question of my what and why I ended up in travel. So before I got into the profession that I have now, I mentioned this before in a couple other interviews, Calvin on 850 Credit, Anthony Venture. I used to be in the music industry. I actually used to work for Grammy award-winning recording artists, and I would have to travel all the time. And that was my click moment when I realized I could fly across the country for $10 purely on points or miles. Now, as you guys know, I landed on United. I used to fly wherever anyone would put on, whatever plane anyone would put me on, or wherever would get me there the quickest or the fastest or anything like that. But then I settled because I picked my partners. And I realized this is the best one for me because those United miles at a very early point in my United relationship, I realized I can use these miles for everything. Complete currency. I can book flights with them. I can book hotels with them. I can do everything that I needed with them. And it wasn't until later that I got my first Chase UR card, which is my Chase Sapphire Reserve. Still have it, never canceled it, still own it. And then one of the things that people have asked me before is like, why'd I ever get that card? And the thing is, when I first got that card, I did not know how valuable it was to me as it is today, where this was back when they were giving off the $100,000 point welcome bonus and a $450 annual fee. You know, the glory days, the days of milk and honey. But the thing was, I knew that Chase was a travel partner to United. So I'm like, yo, if I sign up for this card and I'm stuck with it, at least I can just transfer all this stuff out to United where I'm home free. I know that ecosystem. And then I found all that benefit and all that value later. But the thing was, as I had mentioned, growing up in Chicago, living in New York, constantly traveling to LA, going back to the first answer that we had, my first answer of tonight's podcast is looking at those bonus categories. I felt good because I knew I was getting 3x on dining and 3x on transportation, something that my United Explorer card does not give me. And once again, I'm going to get more value out of this. I mean, even when you book a flight with cash with United, the United Explorer card, not talking about the multipliers you get when you actually fly, but the actual dollar amount is only 2 miles per dollar. The Chase Sapphire Reserve will give me 3. So I'm like, I'm already getting more out of this and I can still transfer it off to United. So I say all that to wrap it up in a nice little bow, bring it around full circle to say, understanding my spin and the direction that I want to go in, I had picked my partners. I knew I wanted to travel. That's what my drive was, to start building the ecosystem, my personal credit card ecosystem that's in my wallet today around that. And it's just, it's like a snowball effect. It started off small and now I can't tell you how many cards deep it is, but 12 maybe. I don't know. I don't count my credit cards. I don't know. But hopefully that answers your question, Tariq.
Yeah, it does. And it just reiterates the importance of picking your partners. Also, for those that know Lani or the Call Me Lani channel outside of the Second Points podcast, the thought of Lani flying anything outside of United seems about as unbelievable as an American Express charge cards without statement credits.
I still have miles with American that I won't let die. I still have miles with Delta that I won't let die. I got miles with airlines that I probably won't ever fly. I got China Airlines miles. I don't let my miles die. But like I said, I'll get on whatever they put me on or whatever would get me there at one point. But does that mean I'll ever fly American again? Probably. If I earn enough side miles from Shell gas station, maybe. It's gonna be a minute.
Seeing you flying anything outside of United just seems cursed. Like it'd be like your favorite star athlete in a jersey that wasn't their hometown team.
I would actually, and I've actually thought about this, and I'm like, this is the one time it's gonna happen. So I have met viewers and subscribers in airports. It's not like celebrity status or anything like that. Like it doesn't happen all the time, but I have met a couple of people. But I always feel like I'm going to be on like an American flight or something like that. And that's the one time I'm like, this SOB's a liar.
I'm going to
I
be on
would
a Delta
thoroughly call you
flight
out.
flying out of LaGuardia, and I'm going to be like, wait, why are you here?
Yeah, Lonnie's on an
Like,
American Airlines flight in
I'm gonna
DFW.
see-
You liar!
I'm going to see everybody that time. Every single subscriber, every single viewer, like, this dude's fake. This is the most phony dude ever.
Your subs will drop. All right, man. I think we left you quiet for too long. What was your what when you started? And if it has changed, what is your what now?
Oh, my what has absolutely changed. I stumbled my way into my first credit card, honestly. I was working in Ohio on a political campaign and was living on my debit card at the time because I didn't know any better. I was just I was a year out of college. I had ran up like debit card debt. Credit cards sort of scared me, but I got a call from a Wells Fargo banker about setting up a credit card, and I was just like, that makes sense. The purchase protections and all that. It was like a 1% Visa Wells Fargo Platinum card. It was just 1% across the board. It was not a good card. But they called me and they were like, "Hey, we can pre-approve you for this card. We can just send this card to you." Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, why not? Because I'm not thinking straight. So at the time, that started off as just that first credit card. The next couple of credit cards I got were cashback focused, but they were focused on things that I was spending money on. So getting 1% back on dining when you go out to eat more often than not doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I graduated to a 1.5 card. I eventually got dining specific cards. When I got the Wells Fargo autograph, it was, oh, my gas, my dining, my trips into New York City, my travel, all 3%. Whether I like purchase through Priceline, I never bought directly through, airlines or hotels at the time because Priceline was my friend. Expedia was my friend. Um, that's all changed in the last couple of years. So now it's, I want to maximize my spend. I want to hit welcome offers, which are the bonuses for signing up for the card. But after that, I want my cards to have utility to me beyond the welcome offer, because just opening a card for a welcome offer and then canceling it after a year, yes, I can build up points, but I want to be able to use the card as much as possible going forward until the card no longer has no longer has a use for me, right? So I live in the greater New York City area. If I moved out of the greater New York City area and I had to pick a new partner because I live near an American Airlines hub specifically, like I will then go get the American Airlines cards, because that's going to make my travel on American Airlines, which I'm going to have to use if I'm in that hub. It's going to make that easier. If I end up in St. Louis, which is a big Southwest area, like I would change my strategy to then go to my new area where I have to, again, pick my partners. Where I am now, I kind of get to be a bit of a free agent, but I want my cards and I want my spend to build up in the partners that I have for now. So when I book JetBlue flights, I then pull out my JetBlue card to further enhance my JetBlue or point earning with JetBlue. I use my Sapphire Reserve for travel and food, and I'm starting to use it for some backdoor grocery earning. By backdoor, I mean with this Chase Sapphire Reserve, one of the things you get is DoorDash. DoorDash, everything codes is 3%. If I order from Dollar General, which is near me, Dollar General would be 1% on the Sapphire Reserve, and my only other card that I could use to get something better than 1% would be a 2% flat earning card. With DoorDash, I can go to Dollar General, or I can order from Dollar General and get it for 3%. I can order from BJ's Wholesale Club and get it for 3% because everything codes as dining. That's a trick that I can implement to get more value with spend that I'm going to be doing anyway. So now I'm trying to focus my spend to get as much. I'm focusing on two ecosystems, Wells Fargo and Chase. When I open up another ecosystem at some point, like my spending will be focused on building up as much as I can there. So groceries and dining would be the American Express Gold card. It is a functional card to me. The other American Express cards, the green card would be functional for me. The platinum card would just be, I want to elevate my travel, because that is a subscription to make your travel life better, in my mind. So I think of it, I'm approaching it now as, how do I turn my spend into better experiences, whether with my transfer partners or if I go with the American Express Platinum, making my travel that much more comfortable for myself with lounges and things like that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Matt, are you okay? Is Wells Fargo stalking you? Because I'm kind of concerned that Wells Fargo might actually be stalking you.
No, Wells. So here's the thing. Wells is like a very underrated provider right now with the things that they can do, because the autograph has gained transfer partners. I've had the autograph for years. I've had my autograph. I product changed another card into the autograph. I product changed a card into the active cash. So I've been in with Wells Fargo since 2012 as a credit card holder, and my first banking experience was Wachovia, and Wells Fargo bought Wachovia. So I've just been with Wells.
Matt, they did what a dealer does. They offered you a free taste and then like hooked you in. I'm kind of concerned here.
That was a pretty good
Yeah,
taste at that.
yeah, that led to some credit card debt, and I've brought my way out of it. But don't don't work in electoral politics. It's not a good way to have a solid, steady paycheck.
I just want to state for the record that I'm sure when you said debit card debt, I was just inferring it being overdrafts, but the thought of you saying debit card debt sounds scarier, in my opinion, than credit card debt. I don't know why.
It was rampant overdraft. College was not a smart time for me.
Was college a smart time for anybody? I got into credit card debt when I was in college. As a matter of fact, I did it twice.
It was a pretty smart time for me.
Ooh. Lani the
Okay, Professor.
overachiever.
But Matt, I got to take a point from you. You didn't say point stack alert on the DoorDash hack.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If I was earning in another ecosystem while getting 3 points, I would have mentioned point stacking. But no, it is a very nice hack that is very, very much overlooked.
It is a very nice hack. That's highly overlooked. I totally agree. I'm just giving you crap. You know I love you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, with that, let us turn to Lani for your. You know what? No, we're gonna go with me for my topic. We're gonna stick with my topic because Lani's a nice outro topic for this. So my topic is: what do you think? What do you look for when considering a credit card, and what do you think others would benefit looking for? And I think, given the foundation that we've had with RJ's topic and with Tariq's topic, I think it's pretty easy to answer with things like, how do you base your budget? How does your spend go? If you're looking into getting into travel, where are you in relation to like major airlines? Does it make sense to, if you're near a United hub, it doesn't make sense to go all in on Delta. I mean, you can, but it would make your life significantly easier to work with United. Now, not to say, you can't make that magic work somehow, but you'll probably have an easier time with United. And cards associated with making United happen, or if you really want to make Delta happen in a United hub, finding ways to make Delta happen for you. If you're in a regional airport where Delta is your best option, like flowing into Delta easily. So what I'm looking for in credit cards are strong earnings on a good amount of my spend, whether it's travel, recreation, gas, food, not necessarily groceries, but other ways to get dining spend for groceries. For me, it's turning that spend into things that I can easily utilize for travel out of my area. Like I can pick different hotels, I can pick different airlines, but that's because I live in an area that allows that to happen for me. So yeah, I think we've built that foundation to that question with the other topics. But Tariq, do you have any other thoughts on that? On that?
I think for me, it's pretty much going to be kind of the same consistency we're talking about with the knowing what your spend is, picking your partners, and seeing how that all meshes together. I think we need to like have like a flow chart, but somehow make it simple because the credit card rabbit hole can be very, very complex. Because I think knowing if you're gonna go just put your spend on and just have extra money just to do whatever, like I did when I started, going in cash back and then seeing like, okay, cool, we're gonna go cash back. You want just the flat good earning card, don't want to even just worry about it. I have friends that have just a flat, I think they have like the active cash, they have a flat 2% cash back, or do you want to get complicated and try to maximize your spend categories, or even venture into the travel side where, okay, am I just doing generic travel as a free agent? Am I going to pick partners? How deep are we going to go? So it from like at least when I'm looking for a card, me personally, my partners are United and Hyatt. So right now I'm kind of like handcuffed to Chase. So and then occasionally Bilt once I decide to stop dealing with 524. And I pick the cards just off of that, and I just try to earn as many chase points as I can that can transition or parlay into United miles or Hyatt points. Not even to mention the other ways to earn United miles. So, thank you, Lani. So, would you leave it at that?
Sure. RJ?
So I think at this point, it's finding cards that fill niches that my overall setup doesn't have. Like for me to actually apply for a new card, I had a little bit of velocity, so right now I'm not applying for any new cards. But say that velocity, is a year in the past, right? It has to be a card that I can both easily use and it has to fill a particular niche. Like a 2X card doesn't do anything for me right now because I have the Venture X and the Blue Business Plus, which are both 2X. So for me, those are not like, it's got to be something higher than 2, higher than 3 in most cases because I have the green for travel and transit. So it has to kind of be a special use case. Like I am looking at the business version of the Hilton and the Marriott because I don't have a Hilton or Marriott and I do stay there. So it's helpful to stack when I'm buying there. But other than that, it's really kind of hard to fit into my ecosystem that I've built at this point. Next year, I have a couple of things I want to do, but that is time and changes to cards and there's going to be a lot more involved in it. So I think once you get a decent stable of cards, it actually becomes harder to find cards that you want because you filled out all of those niches to the point where something has to be really special. Like if Wells Fargo got Marriott or Hilton, I would jump on the Attune card because that does fill a couple of niches that I don't have, but they don't have the partners. So me getting that card, yeah, I might build a stable of points, but I might never be able to use that. And then if I cash it out, I'm going to be sad. And I don't want a card that's going to make me sad. So that's where I am right now.
Absolutely. Lani will close out this topic and then jump to yours.
Sure. I'm gonna initiate broken record mode and repeat a lot of stuff that I had already mentioned earlier today, but it will have some context as well. But it starts off with what is it that you're trying to do? What is it that you're trying to achieve from this card? I mean, some people would just go get a card because they want to not pay cash at at a merchant, and that's completely fine. And then, of course, there's folks like us that either want cash back or travel rewards and those types of things. So, what is it that you're trying to do? And then once you do that, pick your partners. And the card that you pick is also one of your partners because that first card, it could be Chase, it could be Amex, it could be Wells Fargo, it could be Citi. Um, so that's one of your partners as well. Not just like once you get these rewards, what do you do with them? Like United or Hyatt or IHG or whatever, but also the card brand itself. Jump that into the bonus categories. Where are you spending your money? the majority of your money, where can you get the most benefit back from this card? So going back to, a previous answer of, if you spend a lot on food, dining, or groceries, or transportation, and those types of things, then yes, you want to find a card that's going to get you the most cash back, the most percentage back, or points per dollar, whatever that equation it equals out to for you. Um, and then, of course, you want to make sure that you spend your money on those categories to get it. Now, Tariq actually said something um, just a second ago about the credit card game being incredibly complex. And it is, but it's only as complex as you make it, um, where you can just keep it simple. If you are new to the game, and I'm not going to lie, it is complex. It is horribly, there is stuff that you have to like think of every single swipe, every single transaction. I can't tell you how many times where even I've like been sitting on my laptop and bought something and like, dang it, I could have got more points because if I use this card or this offer that's on that card or 10% back on that, it changes so often that it can be complex. But it's only as complex as you make it. You don't have to jump in to the deep end of the pool. You can slowly swim over to the deep end of the pool if you want. Take a little inflatable floaty and just like lay out in the sun and end up on the deep end of the pool if you want to. And I say that because that's the way that my wife does it. Even though, like, yes, I'm in the credit card game, technically she is as well. She's my partner in this. Now, partner in crime because we're traveling for three, as most of you guys know, where she actually is one of those people's like, I don't want a whole bunch of cards. So I know I'm going to use this one when we go to the grocery store. I'm going to use this one when I need to charge the Tesla, or my car is not electric. So it's like, then it's this card because she has that 5% freedom offer for gas stations. So it's like, yo, take my card. We need to go fill up my car, that is my gas combustion engine car. Hypothetically, I know my Freedom Flex has 5 on gas right now. Semantics, folks, semantics. Don't put it in the comments. And then the last but not least is the longevity. So going back to another point that had Matt had made earlier is the longevity factor of it all. I'm not a churner. I have not personally canceled a card. I don't think. I've had cards canceled out of non-usage, but I don't think I've personally like called in and like this card's no longer for me, because I won't even get a card unless it fits into my personal strategy and unless it fits into my ecosystem, which is why I've never had a Capital One card, which is why I never had, well, outside of Built, I've never had a Wells Fargo card. It's just, does it fully fit? And two, do I even need it? Is it going to solve something that I don't already have? And if in most cases, it's 2 no's when I answer those questions. So I think wrap all that up in full circle and wrap that up in a nice little pretty bow is, just figure out what's best for you. Figure out where you're at in your life right now. Like if you rent in Brooklyn, in Park Slope on between 7th and 8th Street on 9th Avenue, where all the eclectic restaurants of the world are like in walking distance away and 3 bodegas. Awesome. And I only say that because that's where I used to live in Brooklyn. I know that neighborhood. But if that's you, then find a card that fits in for you. And then I know I keep talking about Built, but if you're in Brooklyn, Built's a great card. If you're in New York, Built's a great card again. Just got to give them credit where credit is due. All the other stuff that's going on aside, there's still a great card that can easily fit into multiple people's lifestyles. And I say all that because this is all fresh in mind. I'm actually writing my Built response video right now, Matt. So hopefully I'll get it recorded tomorrow, but it's also at top of mind for me right now. But hopefully that answers your question.
It does indeed. And then, Lonnie, the last topic is yours.
All right. So once again, bring it around full circle. So now that we've had these 3 intro questions, let's get to some nitty gritty. Now, I was speaking casually with another fellow creator, Tasha of Major Change Group. Go check her out. Tell her Lani sent you. She's great. She has the majority of her cards are $0 annual fee. I don't even remember how many she said she has, but she has so many. So now, after everything that we've discussed today, what would your $0 annual fee setup be? And you have to no more than 3 cards. It could just be 1 card, 2 cards, no more than 3. Which cards are you choosing? And the reason why I specifically want to say $0 annual fee is because it's the easiest to get into without commitment. You can just stop using it and you're not really worried about too much after that. Like it's not really going to affect you. You don't have to cancel it if you don't want to. Bank might cancel it if they want to, if you're not using it. But $0 annual fee, no more than 3 cards. Take everything that we've discussed so far into consideration. What are you choosing? Starting with RJ.
So first up is the Apple Card, because as we have all discussed, for some reason, I am the perfect Venn diagram of Apple fan and Amex fan. I'm literally, I'm the overlap. So Apple Card. The second one is probably the Blue Business Plus because Amex. And then, so for the third one, probably the Freedom Flex, just for the 3x on dining and drugstores, because I have medication that I have to pay for every month. So I will get, a couple of grand of spend just in the drugstores, which is super fun, and our healthcare system is going great, guys. So yeah, so probably those 3. The Freedom Flex is, the Freedom Unlimited is probably the card that I am the least attached to, but oddly one of the more useful of that setup. So yeah, those would probably be my 3. But it pains me because my setup is so annual fee heavy, because those are the cards that draw me in, that it would hurt. It would take a little while for me to recover from that.
Matt?
Can I just say that this question is not fair in any way, shape, or form?
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. To not beat the dead horse that is my fandom of Wells Fargo, I would start with the Wells Fargo Active Cash, just so that everything that isn't specific to a category, whether it's like a cell phone bill or a utility or a property tax payment or whatever doesn't have its own specialized thing, I can get 2% back on it. It's 2% back on everything. I just don't carry that outside of the country because foreign transaction fees. That foreign transaction fees being a fee that is charged on your card. If your card doesn't have no foreign transaction fees, when you use the card outside of the country when you're traveling, you'll get assessed a fee of usually about 3% from the bank for the privilege of using your 2% card in London or Paris or Prague or Pilsen or anywhere else you may be. So that would be my first no annual fee card. My next no annual fee card, because I want to put together some sort of travel arrangement for myself, would be the Wells Fargo autograph, because it's no annual fee. It covers dining, it covers travel and transit, it covers streaming, it covers the phone, it covers what am I forgetting? That's pretty much it. There's one more category I think I'm missing, but now I can bundle my points and my cash back from Wells Fargo, put it together, and transfer those points out to a relevant partner. If I'm going to fly Delta, I can use flying Air France and book Delta flights through Air France because they're in the same alliance. I could use Avianca Life Miles instead if I wanted to book United. I could use I'm blanking on. Oh, I could use British Airways Avios or Iberia Avios, and book domestic American Airlines, or I could transfer it within the Avios system, but that's a whole other topic. So I can transfer my points out. I can use those points for airline spend, and I'm good there. And then hotel wise, I would use my no annual fee Hilton Honors. That is for when I want to build Hilton Honors points. I get 7 times points at Hilton and more points for being a status member with Hilton. The Hilton Honors card gives you status at Hilton, so you get more when you spend at Hilton. I would get 5 times points on groceries, which is a category that wouldn't be covered by the other cards, 5 times points on gas, 5 times points on dining, and then 3 times points on everything else. So if I'm not using the Wells Fargo setup, in this setup, I'm still doing pretty well with Hilton. So no annual fee cards. I don't pay the banks any money to hold these cards. And I have a pretty good hotel setup and a pretty good setup for airlines.
Lonnie, I am like excited. I was happy and also mad because this one hurt. Because a lot of the cards in my setup, like the one card that I need for my setup has an annual fee, and other cards I want in the future have annual fees. So I couldn't even put the Chase trifecta in there, which for anyone that is new to this, a trifecta is a setup of 3 cards, usually in the same ecosystem. This one being Chase, where you can put all your spend towards those 3 cards, earn all the currencies, and then you can transfer them out to a card that allows you to transfer out to their transfer partners or even just the travel portals that they have and redeem your points for travel or cash back. Since I didn't necessarily want to go cash back because I still wanted to have like the flexibility between cash back and travel, and was much surprised that Matt didn't even go with this. I'm going with the no annual fee Wells Fargo trifecta. So being the active cash, the autograph, and the attune. Obviously, for the active cash and the autograph for what Matt has previously stated, and the attune for me to fill in kind of those niche gaps for the categories that it may not have. And at the end of the day, I can transfer all those Wells Fargo points to the autograph and use the transfer partners. And especially if Wells Fargo decides to do something, see episode 4 for my point, and actually add more transfer partners. So that would be my no annual fee setup that I was surprised Matt didn't go with. And I was happy because I was like, okay, I have my seemingly original take.
Okay. I see what you did there. Now, I'm actually going to upset Matt a little bit because I'm going to be a little bit cheeky here. And first off, when I was thinking of this, I was on the RJ route as well. Like I would get one of the freedoms. I'd probably go unlimited because same way as you, RJ, like you still get the drugstores, you still get the dining, but everything else gets that 1.5 where just knowing my spend, if I spread the 1.5 out more broad versus those select quarterly categories, I'm probably going to come out slightly ahead. I haven't actually done the math, but I'd go that way. But the thing is, I'm not actually going to use that card because it doesn't have transfer partners. It's cash back. But going back to everything that we discussed today, if I had to live my life today and start with my $0 annual fee, first I would pick a hotel card, pick my partners. So if you're IHG, go IHG, Marriott, Hyatt, everyone has a $0 annual fee card for the most part. Whatever is your flavor of the day, the flavor of your Kool-Aid, go that route. I'm going to say IHG Traveler because I just got the IHG annual fee card, but they have a $0 annual fee card as well. The cheeky part is, and I know Matt's going to call it out, so get your red button ready. Could I still do the United Mileage Plus Explorer because it's $0 for the first year?
It doesn't count. No, it doesn't count because it only counts for year one. No, you get the gateway. You said this.
Then I can product change it to the gateway. That's $0.
He can absolutely do that because then he would have no annual fee and he would have all of the United Explorers benefits on the gateway.
That's dirty.
Which is a weird quirk of the United system.
I don't like it, but I do like it.
For the record, I am not nearly as angry as everyone puts me out to be.
I thought you'd be more angry than Tariq ended up being. That was a pleasant surprise right there.
You're a moderator. You're the rule bearer, Matt. That is your job, is the keeper of the rules.
You are kind of like the referee.
Lani, why are you surprised that I wasn't passionate about this? You put me on United.
You didn't say it though. So
I didn't, because I wasn't thinking about that, because the gateway is like the card that exists. It's the United card that you don't want to pay an annual fee for, but you want to keep the history.
Now that the rules have been set, I would try before I apply for my Explorer card and change it to a gateway to stay at $0 later. And to be completely honest, I could stop at just those two, because between those two, all of my spend, my dining, my travel, my transportation, grocery is not covered, which kind of sucks, but we're at $0, so you can't have everything right now. I'd be okay with that. And I really want to be mad at it. I really, really want to be mad at this card right now. But if I had to go three, it'd have to be the build card, because it's just a round number card that transfers to United and transfers to IHG. Sucks that they're going through the weeks that they're going through, but damn it, still not a bad card. It's just a bad time.
Yeah, I think when I put out my latest built video, and I'm sorry I'm stumbling, I was saying I'm going to be negative. I'm going to try to find the positive. I still think there's a lot of good on the way, but their corporate communications team just fell out of an airplane without a parachute the last couple of weeks. That's the only way I can explain it. That, or Roger Goodell is holding them all hostage.
Matt,
one of my favorite statements in business is that loyalty has to be earned, and if so, then so can betrayal. And that's currently where I'm sitting with Built. Like, they did a whole bunch of good and came out the gate hot, but man, it only takes you only had to drunk hit on my wife one night for me to be like, I can't trust you no more.
Don't know that I'd go that far, but yeah.
Yeah. Two things. One, Roger Goodell is on the board, so it is only a matter of time. They're starting off hot, and then they're starting to crumble. They are the 2016 Atlanta Falcons of credit cards right now if they don't get their act right, because right now built up 28-3. Also, Matt, I am disappointingly surprised that you didn't take the opportunity to say that Wells' communication team jumped out of a Blade helicopter without a parachute. You missed an opportunity, and I am sad about that.
Fair enough.
I think Tariq just took another point from you tonight.
I think Tariq might be out of the corner, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
I get 3 times points for shopping at Dollar General and BJ's Wholesale Club. I'm just taking that as a big win right now.
Hey, you can buy shoes on DoorDash now.
Yup. That too. If I didn't have a Chase Ink cash, I'd be buying all sorts of stuff from Staples too.
Yeah, that's why you had to call out spoiler alert. You had to say point stack alert, because DoorDash is a come up if you really pay attention to it.
I'm gonna go activate my Dash Pass on my Sapphire Preferred as soon as we finish this podcast, because what?
Do it. All right. Didn't see. I think that's a nice place to kind of end the topics there. Didn't see any viewer questions, or did we happen to get any? Aside from the request to do a back to basics.
No, just this. There is one in the last episode for Lani, specifically about Built and redemptions at Built. So I'm gonna let him take that in the comments of the last video because it's math, and I try never to math. I was an anthropology student.
Fair. All right, so we'll check that out. If you would like to submit questions to us here at Stack Your Points, please use the comment section of the YouTube videos, either the podcast feed on YouTube or the actual video. Also, you can email us questions at stackyourpoints@gmail.com. We'll be glad to answer them on air as well. Either way works out. Reach out to us via the email address if you listen to us via podcast, or use the YouTube if you watch us on YouTube. But that is going to do it for this week's episode. I think we've done a nice little back to basics, kind of explain some base level stuff and go from there. If you like what we do, hit the like and subscribe button for Stack Your Points. If you listen to us on podcasts, give us 5 stars on your podcatcher of choice. That should be all the admin there. Tariq, if folks want to find you, what is the best place to find you in the realms of the point stacking world?
So y'all are still twisting my arm, but I am still, procrastinating because that's what I do. So I don't have a YouTube yet. You can find me somewhere in the depths of the Venture Capital Discord. And if you just subscribe to Anthony Venture, go through his comment description, and you can find that link. And then you can join and say hi to me. And that's where I'm going to be for the time being.
All right, RJ.
You can find me at Do You Take Cards, and I'm just not putting out a video until Tariq decides to start his YouTube channel. So I'm on a permanent boycott until Tariq's channel goes live.
Okay, you can't do me like that. No. The people deserve Product Change Chronicles. So you going on this ridiculous video strike because I refuse to put a video channel up is not fair for the viewers. You're hurting other people and it's not fair to them.
Tariq, there's one way to fix it.
Fine. I'll get to it eventually. I'm just not going to say when.
Okay. Lani, if we would like to find you on the vast expanse of point stacking, where can we find you?
You can find me in an airport near you. That was really like right off the top of my head. That was smooth too. I'm actually like pretty happy about that one. That was good.
That was good.
That was real good.
That was good.
Point
as long as you're flying United.
Anyway, you can find me on YouTube. Call me Lani, all one word. Lani spelled Lani. I am happy to answer your questions and comments, and always appreciative for any single viewer that stops by.
Absolutely. This has been another episode of Stack Your Points. We'll be back next week with maybe a themed episode, maybe not, but we'll see what we do. Thanks so much for watching as always, or listening, and talk to you guys soon.